What's happening, Matt?
What is up?
Not a whole lot, dude. I've been going down some YouTube rabbit holes late at night.
Oh yeah, what you been
And
doing?
man, the dinosaur debate. Did dinosaurs ever actually coexist with humans?
Yes.
And I'm with you. I think yes, and I think there's some evidence that suggests that may be the case. And
The
I
ancient Egyptians domesticated them. I'm just saying, there's hieroglyphic paintings of this.
right. People are saying,
What up, Steve? What's up, Aaron?
some people, what's up, guys? Some people are debating and saying that's bullshit. So I wanted to see some of the evidence and just have a little discussion about it because I think it's a really cool topic, and I really think we have ancient history wrong, and I don't know if anybody actually knows it or if it's being hidden from us. That's interesting.
Well, they rode really hard. They rode the carbon dating dick for a long time, and then it finally came out that's not accurate.
Yeah.
So they're like, oh, it's 65 million years old, or is it? And then also think about the sightings in the Congo. Remember we talked about this on a show before, where they're like they still see like the one that blocks rivers and stuff like that. But then they talk about a two-legged crocodile, which skeletal remains match up with a baryonyx or something like that. You know what I mean? So I don't think it was, did humans and dinosaurs coexist in ancient history? Are we still coexisting today? I think yes.
Yeah. There's a good chance. There's a good chance that there's something out there. I've seen something like the cave paintings and stuff like that. I've seen a lot of interesting things that depict dinosaurs, right?
Yep.
And it raises the question, and I kind of want to discuss later why it would, if that's the truth, then what harm comes from going, you know what, we got the history wrong.
Yeah.
We're a lot smarter these days. We have a lot better technology and tools to help us look into the past.
Oh, there's a lot more. Yeah, there's a lot more information at our fingertips for sure.
Yeah.
And we use it to look at people looking at each other's buttholes. So,
are they that like so full of pride that they can't go, shit, we were wrong?
I don't think it's.
That's guessing.
I don't think it's a pride thing, to be honest. I think it's a control thing.
God, it's crazy. I mean, they'll admit that they've never really found an intact dinosaur for so long, and they were just piecing them together. I don't know. It's weird what they'll admit when they won't.
Information and knowledge is power.
Yeah, it's true.
So when you're trying to keep control of billions of people, are you going to let the peasants know all the secrets? You're not.
No, knowledge is power. You're correct.
Have you seen the TikTok movement of delete celebrities?
No,
dude. After the Met Gala, a bunch of TikTokers began the movement, and like these celebrities are losing millions of followers off their social media because they're now making the comparison of Hollywood is the capital from the Hunger Games. Yeah. They're making the connection. They're like, look at the state of the rest of the world, and these people are getting all dressed up and going to a party like there's nothing wrong.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird because entertainment, it's like, it's such a big racket. You know what I mean?
Oh, for sure. For sure.
So it's like, I expect that kind of stuff. So I don't really hold it against them. For me, it's more of a, I don't know if I'd ever want to be a part of that because it's like the glitz and glamour. For me, it's the money because I want to buy badass cars and shit. You know what I mean? You have to be a special, like, I wonder how many people got into acting and stuff, or they made it, right? And then they get there and then they realize, oh shit, I can't.
Quite a few.
Go to the grocery store. I can't even go into 7-Eleven.
A lot of them are like, think they're supposed to be untouchable once they make it to a certain celebrity status point, and they're super rude. Like Kevin James is actually super rude to people.
Really?
Jonah Hill, super rude. Leo DiCaprio, super rude. Tobey Maguire, super rude.
Wow. Well, everybody wants something from you. you know.
Oh, for sure. I understand. Like I'm not saying anything negative there. Like I get it. I would be jaded and burned out too if every time you had somebody come up to you, you know they're just trying to get something they can sell on eBay.
Yeah, no kidding.
You know what I mean? Like I'd be jaded too. Like I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying, but at the same time, like just say if they're just wanting to say hello and be respectful, just acknowledge them. You know what I mean? You don't have to be a dickhead. Like it's not like they're. I mean, or just be like, "Hey, can I get a picture?" And they'd be like, "No, but we can have a conversation real fast." Like I can't remember the name of the celebrity, but I know there's one. He won't let you take a photo with him, but he'll talk to you for like 5 or 10 minutes, and then he'll go on.
See, that'd be cool.
Right?
That's more of a lasting thing anyway. I've met some people in I'm a huge fan of the UFC and MMA.
Yeah.
And I've been to some events in Vegas, and I've been there during events in Vegas, and I've met some people that at the time, the UFC was still it was mainstream, don't get me wrong, but it's like those people could still walk places and not be recognized.
Right.
But in that world of, mixed martial arts, they're celebrities. And I saw a trainer of somebody who eventually would become the middleweight champion. I saw him in the hallway of the hotel, and it was just me, my wife, and him. And I recognized him just by the look of him. And I said, "Hey." And he turned around and he was super cool. And we had like a little 3-minute conversation. It was like we were friends forever. It was weird. But I like down to earth people like that. And I think there's a certain line of celebrity where that goes away. And they
Oh, for
blow
sure.
up.
Hey, do we want to live stream, like not live stream the fight so our stream gets shut down, but us watching the Tyson fight?
With Jake Paul?
Yeah.
Oh shit, that would be fun.
Like I can set my laptop up and watch and have it aimed at my couch.
Yeah.
Because I'm gonna have a little party here for the fight.
Oh yeah.
So let's do that. Like let's do that for the channel. Like us watching the fight.
Okay.
Because it's gonna be on Netflix. So
that's right. Yeah. That I think. Yeah, let's try that. Because I'll play it too, and I think there's a way. Maybe you might be able to get away with a mirror image, but it would have to be cropped. So I think if I don't know, even if I was wearing sunglasses, if I was wearing sunglasses on the stream, it would reflect what was happening on the screen.
Oh, I don't want to risk it, so we get shut down. Like let's just have it streaming us watching the fight.
Okay. And if people want to watch at the same time?
Yeah, and if everyone wants to watch, it'd be like a big watch party, and we're, you know what I mean?
Okay, all right.
I think it'd be fun.
Yeah, yeah, that would be fun. I hope Jake Paul gets knocked out. I hope Tyson just takes his head
off. I hope Tyson. Did you see their little meeting where they like squared up and everything?
Yeah.
And someone goes, "Tyson, are you nervous about fighting this guy that's in the prime of his life?" And he goes, "What do you mean his prime? He's fucking fat."
Yeah, Mike Tyson. He's a savage, dude.
Yeah, one of the reporters tried to call him a gimmick. Tried to call Tyson a gimmick for his whole career. Oh yeah, Tyson was heated. He goes, "What'd you just call me?" And the guy's like, "I didn't call you that. That's what they said I called you." Yeah, he was implying that Tyson was a gimmick for his whole career.
Oh shit! Well, that's the road you want to go down. But yeah, let's talk about that more. That sounds like a fun thing to do.
Oh, it's gonna be such a fun fight.
I'm down. Now let's talk about this. I haven't seen any of these videos yet. As I was going down the rabbit hole, you know what I noticed is you start running into a lot of Christians talking about this topic of whether or not humans walked with dinosaurs, and then obviously if dinosaurs were mentioned in the Bible and stuff like that.
They were. Well, they were. Dragons were too.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm just saying, I would rock a pet dragon. I'd give 2 fucks what the HOA says.
The more I look into dinosaurs, the more I'm starting to buy into the dragon thing and coexisting with humans. I don't know.
Oh yeah.
Well, let's see what this is about. Jeez.
Coming in hard.
Fuck.
When Christians have been wondering what to do with dinosaurs, the evolutionists unfortunately have been wise as serpents, but not as harmless as doves. They have realized that
shit.
dinosaurs...
This is one of them. I didn't even know.
Let's see. Anyway, I guess this isn't going to go in reverse. Oh, it is going to go in reverse. Wow. You guys are praying out there. Okay. All right.
Shit.
They realize that
Well,
dinosaurs fascinate children.
Let's see where this goes for a
They
few
have
minutes.
worked hard to make dinosaurs the icon or the trademark of the so-called fact of evolution. So we have to realize that Christians are not the only fishers of men. We can turn the tables, though, by using dinosaurs for what they ought to be, and that is evidence for creation and not evolution. They point us to the greatest book of science and history that's ever been written, and that, of course, is...
Oh, here we go.
Do you agree with that statement?
Bro, I'm not going to... Listen. I'm pretty sure I'm on a watch list at work already because I was like, what Bucker said wasn't that bad.
What did he say?
Bro, you haven't heard about this?
No.
Dude, it's all over social media. The Kansas City Chiefs kicker, it was devout Catholic, okay? Got called to a Catholic college to give a commencement speech for the graduating class.
Uh-huh.
And I need to watch it again, but pretty much the gist of it was, don't fall for the lie of you have to go into the corporate America to live a fulfilled life. It's okay to be a mom. It's okay to be a dad and provide for your family and be a home keeper and taker and everything. But like, he didn't mean it in like you have to choose one or the other. He was like, just don't fall for the lie of you need to give up the family to do this.
Interesting.
You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
a lot of women are like, I gotta be a boss babe, and they don't get married, and they get to their 40s and they're like, I didn't do anything.
Yeah.
And he's just like, don't fall for that lie. He's like, it's okay to choose one or the other, and you can still try to have both. But yeah, I need to watch the whole thing again. But oh man, social media is trying to eat this dude alive.
Wow.
I had one lady. I was on a call with a lady at work, and she's like, what's the logo on the other side of that hat? And I was like, oh, the Chiefs. And she goes, well, I like the Chiefs except for what Bucker said. And I was like, well, I mean, for his audience, he gave a great speech. I was like, I'm not saying he stayed in his lane, but I was like, but I mean, for his audience, he spoke exactly what his audience would want.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was a small Catholic college in Kansas. His audience, for that audience, it was the perfect speech. I was like, no, I'm not saying he stayed in his lane. I'm just saying for his audience, he gave a great speech.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, that's I mean, why not though? Like, you don't have to get sucked into that shit.
Oh man, he flew in. I mean, he's not wrong, but at the same time, he's like at the same time, it's like, bro, his jersey is now the number one selling jersey in all NFL teams.
What a smart move. All you have to do is play one side politically, and you're going to win on one side.
Bro, it went from Travis Kelce because he was dating Taylor Swift to Butker because he said, "Hey, corporate America."
Damn, you're like, you work for the NFL, just so you know.
Oh yeah, the NFL tried to dude. The city of Kansas City tried to dox this dude. Like they gave the town he lives in on their Twitter.
Well,
and it got deleted. Like so somebody lost their job.
Holy shit! Damn, shit got real for him.
Got real. All right, let's watch this. Let's watch this right here.
Getting the effect on this anymore.
Are you guys getting this mono or stereo? I'm getting it mono, only in one side.
Is not a textbook of science.
I'm getting on both.
Considering the author, it ought to at least be accurate when it touches on matters
That's weird.
of science and history. And as we shall see, indeed it is. Now, dinosaurs have been found on every continent of this planet, even Antarctica. And that bothers some people. They figure we've got to give some kind of answer because they're
Antarctica used to be a jungle.
I know that, but I didn't realize they were fucking doing archaeological digs.
Paleontology digs. But yeah, archaeology digs too.
Yeah. Weird. Wonder what they found.
I don't know, but yeah, like
Well-meaning Christians,
Antarctica used to be like right there with Australia.
the evolutionists use dinosaurs, don't they?
That
to
would be a
deny the
fun
Bible and promote
paleontological.
evolution?
Like,
So,
if I was a
that's
paleontologist
not
and I
very
was in
good. We don't have to
Antarctica looking
provide
for
the evidence.
dinosaurs, that'd be
The evidence is real.
That'd be cool, wouldn't it?
Could be that we have a better explanation. Others have said, the devil put those bones in the ground just to throw us astray. Well, you got to give the devil his due, but the Bible doesn't say the devil did that one. Now, others have gone so far as to say God himself put those bones in the ground just to test our faith and see if we would believe his word, even though the evidence contradicts it. Now, what kind of God would do that to us? We have enough tests of our faith without God doing that to us. So I don't think that's quite the case. Oh, very good. We're getting close. Keep on praying. Okay.
keep on praying.
What our answer should be is that those bones are in the ground not to test our faith, but rather to support our faith. If biblical history is true, creation took place. What would we predict about the fossil record? The fossil record would show no transitional fossils. And indeed, there should be many millions, but there's only a handful that they're even willing to argue about today. And they're so questionable, so equivocal that many evolutionist experts don't even accept them. Well, that's what creation predicts. Secondly, if there was a great global flood, these fossils would be buried in sedimentary rocks, which is exactly what they are. Creation and the flood at face value, prima facie evidence is right there, right in the rocks, crying out the biblical truth. Now, unfortunately, many Christians have been intimidated on this subject by the so-called fact of Earth history and science called the evolutionary geological.
Something just popped in my head, man. I want to ask you a question. If you took a piece of raw meat, it's like a steak or something, you tossed it in a freezer, you left it in there for 30 years with the freezer running, what do you think it would look like if you opened it? What would that meat look like, do you think?
I mean, we gotta look at. Okay, let's look at it this way. I don't know the answer to that, but let me counter your question with what I do know.
Okay.
Look at how intact these mammoths are. That they find whole ones frozen in the ice.
Yeah.
There was one they found. They actually, I don't think it was a mammoth. It might have been a tiger or a wolf. One or the other.
Mm-hmm.
That was frozen in the ice, and when they thawed it, they still drew blood. Like they were able to pull liquid blood out of it.
See, I've heard they found dinosaurs and they were able to get like actual flesh samples from these things.
Yeah.
And I'm going, those things are like hundreds of millions of years old. You tell me,
allegedly,
hundreds of millions of years, and you can still get. I just don't know if I believe that, but I'm not really a young Earth guy either. I think that they were a lot more.
I'm not saying we're a young Earth. I'm just saying I think timelines are wrong.
Yeah, they have to be, and those things had to exist with us, and in my opinion, in order to have such intact specimens. You know what I mean?
Right.
Just thought that popped in my head.
It is prominently displayed in our textbooks, in our museums, in our national parks. It looks scientific. It even sounds scientific because they use Greek names like Paleozoic, which means ancient life, Mesozoic, which means intermediate life, Cenozoic, which means recent life. But there are a lot of good, solid scientific and logical reasons not to believe this. The first and most important one is it denies the testimony of the one eyewitness who was really there to tell us about history. It denies the words of our Creator, Jesus Christ. Jesus said in Mark chapter 10, verse 6, that but from the beginning of the creation, God made them male and female. Therefore, a man shall leave his father and mother and cleave to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. Well, this says if Adam and Eve came at all, they came at the end of time, billions of years removed from the beginning of the creation. Again, in Luke 11, 50 and 51, Jesus said that the blood of all the prophets, which was shed from the foundation of the world, shall come upon this generation, from the blood of Abel to the blood of Zechariah. It's like from A to Z, from the first prophet in world history to the last prophet of the Old Testament. According to Jesus, Genesis is real history. You ought to know he was there. And he said his first prophet, Abel's blood, was shed not billions of years after the foundation of the world, which is what this teaches, but at the foundation of the world, at the beginning of time. The preeminent, biggest, most powerful land-dwelling animal that God ever made. I think it's describing a sauropod dinosaur. Now, when we look at the posterior of the elephant and the hippopotamus, my goodness, what pathetic examples of tails. I think if God was talking about them, he would have said this: behold Job, he moveth his tail like a twig. But when he talks about this, he'd say, hey, that's like a cedar tree. So, as the old proverb says, if it looks like a duck, quacks like a duck, walks like a duck, flies like a duck, it's most likely a duck. In this case, Behemoth is most likely a sauropod dinosaur alive in the days of Job after the flood. Now, the very next chapter, Job chapter 41, God calls to Job's attention the greatest reptile of the sea, the Leviathan. Okay? Now, contrary to what some people think, Leviathan is not an annual marathon run only by the tribe of Levi. Okay? Wrong idea. Leviathan was an awesome aquatic reptile that had such thick, scaly armor, the Bible says no weapon of man could penetrate it. No spear, no arrow, no harpoon. Impervious to human attack. Yet you read in the margin of your Bible some speculations. Maybe Leviathan was a whirlpool, or a whale, or a crocodile. None of which fits the description. You know, whirlpools don't have scales and teeth. Whales don't have scales. And crocodiles have been killed with simple weapons like spears for thousands of years. Notice what God says. Can you pull in Leviathan with a fishhook? Any hope of subduing him is false. The mere sight of him is overpowering. His sneezing throws out flashes of light. His eyes are like the rays of dawn. Firebrands stream from his mouth. Sparks of fire shoot out. Smoke pours from his nostrils. His breath sets coals ablaze and flames dart from his mouth. Sound like anything we've heard of in antiquity?
Dragons.
Fire-breathing dragon. All these stories from antiquity of dragons that sound like dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Got fire. Of course, God can make anything. I believe this is probably one of these big marine reptiles, Mosasaurus or Chronosaurus, with glands to produce flammable chemicals and electrical spark for ignition. You have a flamethrower. Of course, God can do that. We have that technology in the...
This Christian gentleman just basically put together what his idea of a fire-breathing dragon would be. It's interesting that he just threw that together. So, create some chemicals and some sparks. And
Bro, there's science there. Like,
there is.
what was
There
it?
really
What
is.
was it? Rain of Fire.
Yeah,
They worked out
that was a great
how. Oh, it was a fantastic movie. Matthew McConaughey was an absolute badass in that movie.
movie.
It was one of Gerard Butler's first movies.
Yeah, I'm a fan of Gerard.
He flew under the radar because he was up against Christian Bale and Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah.
But Gerard Butler, that was one of his. I think that was actually his first movie.
Wow.
Oh man, it was such a good movie. McConaughey's leap of Valhalla.
Yeah, right on the.
Like, he knew he was going to get fucking eaten by that dragon. He's like, he's still going battle axe. God, gets you jacked up. But anyway, but no, they broke down the science of what kind of chemicals would need to occur naturally for it to happen, and they worked that into the movie. So I mean, from a biological standpoint, they worked out how it could happen.
I mean, there are eels that'll electrocute the shit out you.
You know what fascinates me? Scientists have no idea where eels come from.
Really?
They don't know how they breed. They don't nothing.
What?
That's a real fact. They have no idea. They have no idea their reproductive cycle. Nothing. Zero clue. Eels just show up.
Interesting. What a odd, weird.
Like we know how octopuses get down. We know how a lot of things get down. Eels, no clue.
God can do that type of technology. In fact, God can even make a dragon, so to speak, of the insect world. It's called the bombardier beetle. The bombardier beetle has a complex chemical factory that produces reactive chemicals, hydrogen peroxide and hydroquinone, held inert until it's squirted into a combustion chamber, and an activating enzyme then causes enormous, almost instantaneous increase in heat and pressure that explodes out a twin cannon in his rear end right in the face of any predator coming after him.
Huh?
He can shoot up to 30 times repeatedly. Boom, 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 boom. Makes him the Rambo of the insect world, and nobody wants to tangle with the bombardier beetle. But if God could do that with a 1-inch beetle that's indigenous to the temperate climate zones around the world, and in fact is found down here around San Diego, so don't go walking around barefoot or you'll find out the hard way they're around here. What could he do with a 20 or 30 ton Leviathan? He made the fire-breathing dragon. Now, in this excellent book, The Real History of Dinosaurs, Dr. Mace Baker, creationist dinosaur specialist, he points out that the Hebrew words tanin and tanim in the Hebrew should be translated by the modern word dinosaur. He makes a strong hermeneutical and linguistic argument for that. He also quotes ancient scholars who described what dragons looked like in their day, and their description sounds like known types of dinosaurs. So I would agree with Dr. Henry Morris, who said if one will simply translate tanim by dinosaur, every one of the more than 25 uses of the word becomes perfectly clear and appropriate. Dinosaurs are in the Bible, but they're there by the ancient word, not the modern word that was invented after the Bible was written. Now, if men and dinosaurs survived the flood, we might expect to find artistic depictions of dinosaurs in archaeology. And indeed we do. Man is by nature artistic. This ancient cave painting from Zimbabwe shows what appears to be a Tenontosaurus type of sauropod dinosaur. The evolutionist said, it's some strange mystical creature. When you ask any kid, what does that look like? And they say, it's a dinosaur. See, kids are often smarter than our scientists. So that was in Africa. Here in North America, Havasupai Canyon near Grand Canyon, ancient Indian petroglyph, outlined in white to make it clear, but it is the profile of a dinosaurian creature, very similar to the known dinosaur Edmontosaurus. Here we have an ancient Roman mosaic from the 2nd century AD showing two long-necked dragons fighting or playing on the banks of the Mediterranean Sea. When we look at the foot structure, the joint structure of the leg, the layout of the body, the length of the neck, it is an uncanny, very accurate depiction of a known type of sauropsid reptile known as the Tanystropheus. How in the world did they know that? Were they just lucky in their guessing? Or maybe the Historia Animalium is true. The dragons were real. They existed up to the end of the 1500s in Europe. And that history agrees with biblical history. Now, on the left here, we have Dr. Don Patton. Dr. Patton is a creationist geologist from Dallas. He heard about this ancient Indian petroglyph in Colorado, just across from the Utah border. He went to photograph it. He noticed the local people call this the Triceratops petroglyph because it has 3 horns. Triceratops in the Greek means 3-horned face, armored plate behind its neck, a triceratopian type mouth. And no wonder they say it looks like a triceratops. The evolutionists said, no, the ancient Native Americans never saw a triceratops. Why, they were just trying to draw a goat, you know? It's just a goat. But if you look above it, you'll see the ancient Native Americans jolly well know what a goat looks like. So I think it's a triceratops.
Boom, lawyered.
Just a few years ago at Natural Bridges National Monument in Utah, we finally located a petroglyph first located by the evolutionists, but they despised creationists, so they wouldn't tell us where it was. We had to find it on our own. It's outlined in white to make it clear that it is definitely the depiction of a sauropod-type reptile, like an Apatosaurus. Now, here we have the actual photo. It's a little bit faint. You can see there's the eye and the mouth. There's the neck. Here's the legs up here, tip of the tail here. And he's next to an Anasazi Indian warrior in their kind of stylized depiction of themselves. We know this is not modern graffiti because it's thickly covered with this reddish chemical compound called desert varnish. And this takes centuries to slowly build up on the surface of desert rocks. When it's this thick, it easily dates back more than 1,000 years to a time when the climate was better. And the Anasazi culture, as well as apparently some dinosaurs, were still thriving in what is today a very austere desert area. Now, the Nazca Indian culture of South America is distinguished by having dinosaur motifs found often in their tapestry and their pottery.
Why would they have any of this shit if they didn't see it with their own eyes?
Bro, that's what I'm saying.
You know?
That's what I'm saying. They were here, man.
If we found a reptile no bigger than
How crazy is that? Where are the movies? You know, we have movies about aliens and stuff. Give me a movie like what is Apocalypto? Give me something like that with dinosaurs and shit.
Yeah.
Give me something epic. You know what I mean?
Oh, that'd be
this reptilian creature
10,000 BC. That's pretty close.
Really?
That's dinosaurian.
Yeah, I mean, it was like
a saber-tooth tiger on the cover and shit.
Yeah.
Neck structure. Definitely.
Is it a good one?
Dinosaurian.
They showed mammoths helping build, being used to build the pyramids.
Infinitely better than
Oh shit!
Centuries ago, during the days of the Spanish conquistadors in South America, the Spanish occupying the ancient Inca Empire kept a history of the Incas called the Chronicle of the Incas. In there, they have a passage where they mention the Incas were fond of etching.
I think I'm sold on this idea. I think we walked the earth.
Rounded river stones and then
Oh yeah, we did.
etched stones ritualistically in their tombs.
You realize there's people
They
out
said
there
most of the pictures
where
were
told them that believe they
but
can
some of
figure
them
out of
were
your
strange,
fucking eye.
monstrous,
Right.
dragon-like creatures that the Spanish were not familiar with. And they even sent some of those stones back to Spain for analysis by the scholars in Spain. We're hoping if we can get permits to go through some of the ancient Spanish archives, if it hasn't been destroyed or thrown out over the centuries, we might find those original stones. But it was graphically illustrated, graphically described by the Spanish centuries ago, centuries before the middle of the 19th century.
Is this a good argument for
as fossils? Now that's interesting because we would predict
the Bible
if
being
the Spanish were
factually
correct,
and historically
that when we
accurate?
find and excavate Inca
Man,
tombs, we would find these
I've never
etched
said it
stones,
wasn't
and
accurate.
indeed
You
we
know what I
have
mean?
found
It's just
literally
I
by the
think
tens of
some
thousands.
things have been changed over the constant translations, and they change it to fit their narrative a bit more. You know,
Yeah. Gee, I wonder what those strange mystical creatures could be. Well, they're unambiguous depictions of known types of dinosaurs. So unambiguous that the evolutionist knee-jerk reaction was, well, it's a big fraud. Somebody's done a fraud here. Those ancient Incas could have known what dinosaurs look like.
That looks like a fucking triceratops on top.
They survived the flood,
Yeah.
and they perhaps only recently disappeared and went extinct. Well, you got to think about this.
Dude, if I walked into a church on Sunday and they were talking about this shit, I'd be like, now this is my kind of fucking church. Hell yes. Probably wouldn't say that, but
to devalue them and then stick them in Inca tombs that are hard to find. You know, how do you cash in on a fraud like that? But we go through all that time and effort, and what are they getting out of it? What's the motive? And how in the world did the Spanish accurately report it centuries before dinosaurs were rediscovered in the fossil record?
So
doesn't really sound like a fraud. Well, they have these on display in the city of Ica, Peru, at the Cabrera Museum. In fact, the History Channel went down there, and they showed on an episode called UFOs in History.
Those are real.
They showed a stone like this in the Cabrera Museum. And in the corner,
those are real, dead to rights. There it is.
They were looking at it was covered with dinosaurs like
there it is. No denying.
But in the corner,
Stegosaurus, Triceratops.
You know what I mean?
They said,
like,
"Oh my goodness,
here it is." It's undeniable if this is real.
Ancient Incas, 15 centuries ago, saw flying saucers. Now they did not say one word about the rest of the stone that was covered with dinosaurs.
No shit, right?
I thought, what in the world? You know, it reminded me of the scene out of The Wizard of Oz. You know, where the wizard is behind the curtain running his machine, putting on his show, and then Toto comes and pulls the curtain back, and they can say, what's going on?
I mean, how crazy that we survived.
Pay no attention to the man
You know
behind the curtain. Just look where you're supposed to look and nowhere else.
We're savages. We always have been.
You know, look at this little thing.
We will take you out.
Well, if you ever get down to Peru, you can go to the museum founded by Dr. Javier Cabrera. Dr. Cabrera was an MD, founder of the largest teaching medical hospital in the country of Peru, and a qualified archaeologist and anthropologist. He did massive excavations back when it was legal. If you found an Inca tomb, it used to be legal that you got to excavate it and keep all the artifacts. And he has the largest collection of these type of pre-Columbian artifacts in any type of private museum in the world. He recently passed away, but his family is still running the museum. It's still open to the public if you ever get down to Peru. Now, Dr. Cabrera, very respected academic down there, he was not a creationist. He was an evolutionist. Yet he said his archaeological findings forced him to concede Darwin was wrong about one thing. He was wrong in assuming dinosaurs went extinct millions of years ago. He believed everything else about Darwin, but he said that part has got to be false because the ancient Incas obviously were intimately acquainted with known types of dinosaurs.
That's crazy.
Now, in his collection, he has many of these, thousands of these Inca burial stones, and many of them do show men and dinosaurs rather intimately acquainted. For example, here, we have an ancient Inca riding elephant style on a creature with 3 horns, an armored plate, and 4 legs.
This is what I'm talking about.
I don't know what that is.
They need a movie about this shit.
Dinosaur. Now, it also shows us smoking went back quite a few centuries.
Yeah, getting high riding a dinosaur.
The Bible, who were the first
There's an Inca out there that's like,
in history.
I used to get stoned and ride dinosaurs.
Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego.
That's so awesome.
Have the smell of smoke on them.
That is
What's
hilarious.
really fascinating here is that this artifact, recovered from a tomb 15 centuries old, has got these dermal frills on the back of dinosaurs. We did not know they had that anatomical feature until the 1990s. They're made out of skin-like material that usually rots. It's not preserved in the fossil record. But in the 1990s, we found some of the best preserved dinosaur remains, and we realized a lot of sauropodian and ceratopian dinosaurs had that feature. BBC came out with their special, Walking with Dinosaurs, and they were trumpeting how proud they were to have the most anatomically correct depiction of dinosaur anatomy in world history, according to them. Well, I would beg to differ. I think that these ancient Incas, by eyewitness knowledge, had a better representation many centuries ago.
That's so
because
cool.
They knew something we didn't know. They didn't
Riding that son of a bitch.
And fossils to look at. They had the real thing. Apparently, this type of dinosaur could be domesticated.
Just out there like, here we go.
As a beast of burden. Not all of them apparently were domesticatable, though. This guy's kind of having a bad day. He's about to get his leg bit off here. So he figures he better stab the dinosaur in the head with his trusty knife.
Yes.
But his friend has come up behind him. There's his eye and his mouth. He's about to get bit in the back of the neck, and that'll ruin your whole day and your whole life. So this may be his epitaph. How did I do brother by the farm? Well, here's the story.
That'll ruin your whole day and your whole life.
Yep.
Be fucking dead.
Have warning signs back then. You know, when I drive down the freeway, there's signs, look out for deer, look out for elk. When I was up in Alaska, it was look out for moose and grizzly. Well, they may have had ones like this. Look over your shoulder. There might be an Allosaurus behind you.
Dude.
You get caught from behind. Even more significant are the finding of many baked clay figurines, 3-dimensionally depicting dinosaurs. These are extremely significant because baked clay can be dated by an entirely independent dating method from carbon-14. Carbon-14
See?
is well known to give spurious dates even on artifacts of known antiquity, known date. However, thermoluminescent dating is based on the luminosity index, or energy trapped in the crystals in the clay. It's pumped in, so to speak, when they fire heat the clay. So you can tell how long it has been by how much energy is leaked out of the crystal over time from the time it was fire heated. Now that seems to correlate pretty accurately on known dates of pottery in antiquity. So when this was found, the evolutionists said, great, we'll prove it's a modern forgery. We'll use our marvelous, modern, accurate thermoluminescent dating. And when they did, it turned out to be many centuries old. All of a sudden, they didn't want to talk about it anymore. Isn't it interesting? Well, we have many of these examples of baked clay figurines in Dr. Cabrera's museum.
Holy
Many of them show men and dinosaurs interacting. Here, the Inca stabbing the dinosaur, but the dinosaur's getting his licks in as well. I guess we'll call that a draw. Here, they're going after the babies. It's easier to get them when they're babies than when they get big and step on you, I guess. But, you know, these people did not know it was politically incorrect to live with dinosaurs. They just portrayed life as they knew it, and these creatures were normal to them and are part of their normal culture as they depicted it. Now, here we have the local Inca veterinarian trying to nurse a sick dinosaur. He's got a bag here, perhaps of herbs or medicine of some kind. Now, he's not sick because his legs were broken. That happened in an earthquake. But we see this very domestic relationship that they had. Here again, we have them riding the Triceratopian dinosaur. We see the dermal frills that we did not know about till the end of the 20th century. I think these people knew.
Are these real? If they're real, I mean,
not just in Peru,
Right.
but also in Mexico. In Mexico, they have found tens of thousands of baked clay figurines in El Toro Mountain outside of Acambro, Mexico. If you draw a straight line between Guadalajara and Mexico City, about the middle of that line and a little bit north of it is a little town called Acambro. In 1945, a German immigrant, Mr. Yulsrud, riding along the side of that mountain, saw a little landslide had revealed baked clay figurines sticking out of the soil. He began to excavate. Decades of excavation have now been done. Tens of thousands of these have been recovered. And many of them show known types of dinosaurs.
Tens of thousands
Not
of
only
them.
that,
Why?
Luminescent dating dated these to be a few thousand years old.
Why were they
more than twice
making
as old
figurines
as the
of these
ones in
things?
Peru.
Bro, it's not,
Tens
yeah,
of
like he's,
Is that the Acambro Indians depicted sauropods doing maneuvers that we didn't agree was possible until the end of the 20th century. When final analysis, computerized analysis of anatomy confirmed the greatest bone mass and muscle strength located in the loins allowed these maneuvers. Well, apparently they knew it, not by computer, but by eyewitness knowledge. Also, their depiction of the iguanodon dinosaur was better than we had until the latter part of the 20th century. So Richard Owen first tried to reconstruct iguanodon. He had a tail drooping and a little horn on the end of his nose. Then they realized they didn't have a horn on the end of their nose. They had thumb spikes, kind of defensive weapons, but they had him on two legs with his tail dragging. Finally, by the late 20th century, we figured out it had his tail straight out and it walked like this. Now, does this look like this? Yeah, the Acambro Indians had better knowledge than we did till the end of the 20th century. Now, this is very well documented on these two videos and DVDs, Creation Evidence from South America and Mystery of Acambro. This one particularly is extremely well documented, best, as good as it gets as far as archaeological finds. Plenty of living eyewitnesses still. Their attempts to disprove it totally backfired.
I like this kind of stuff. If you ever come across people that don't understand that stuff exists, and
Yeah.
you show them, and they're like, "What?" And you're like, "Right?"
What do you mean?
Notice
Open your
one well-known
mind.
science book, the Historia Animalium, claims that dragons were still not extinct in the 1500s, but the animals were said to be extremely rare and relatively small by then. Well, after the flood, lifespans decreased, size decreased, tremendous change in the climate and ecology of the earth, I think, precipitated that. And I think dinosaurs eventually went extinct in Europe, like the Historia Animalium said, because of overhunting. They're having trouble adapting to the harsh world after the flood, and man pushed them over the edge of extinction in Europe by overhunting. Man has caused a lot of animals to go extinct by overhunting. With teamwork, with poison-tipped weapons, man can kill the biggest of animals. Now notice Carl Sagan, he wrote a book called The Dragons of Eden. In there he said the pervasiveness of dragon myths in the folk legends of many cultures is probably no accident. It is a worldwide phenomenon, and this bugged the dickens out of him. He said, why these dragon legends, they sound like dinosaurs. They sound almost explicitly in some cases, like known types of dinosaurs. He said, and yet it can't be that the Bible is true and dinosaurs were created with man and survived the flood and all that. That can't be true. So he said, how do we explain this from an evolutionary point of view? So in this book, one of his main theses was, well, these ancient people didn't realize that dinosaur and reptile brains evolved all the way up to human brains. And so they had a latent vestigial memory in their brain of when they used to be dinosaurs. And this reptilian section of their brain prompted them to have nightmares that they were fighting and battling with dinosaurs. And that's where all the dragon slayer myths came from. Believe it or not, notice what he said. In the dreams of humans, the dragons can be heard hissing and raspings, and the dinosaurs thunder still. Well, I think the Bible has a far better explanation of that. But you know what? Carl Sagan got the Pulitzer Prize for this incredible book, which goes to show that if you sing the song the world wants to hear, no matter how ridiculous it may be, you will get rewarded for it. Now, bunyips and dinosaurs. Bunyip is a name given by the Australian Aborigines for a big reptilian swamp monster that was in their swamps in the middle of the 1800s.
For sure,
Now,
Australia's
white
had
settlers lived
some
near that
shit.
area.
Oh,
They
for
had
sure.
a huge, fresh, unfossilized bone. They asked the Aborigines, what on earth kind of monstrous animals run around your swamp here that have bones this big? They said it must be the bone of the bunyip, or swamp dragon. So the Geelong Advertiser newspaper got fascinated. They said, we want to know what this bunyip monster looks like. So they interviewed Australian Aborigine eyewitnesses, got all the eyewitness details. Then they made a composite sketch of what a bunyip looks like. This is a copy of the actual sketch published in the year 1845. It is a museum quality, accurate in the minutest detail, depiction of a known type of dinosaur, a duck-billed dinosaur called a hadrosaur. Now, this is an amazing thing. It's not a dead fossil. The Aborigines knew it as a living, walking, breathing creature. And yet, this particular type of dinosaur had not been discovered until 13 years after this was published. Finally, someone found it in the fossil record and reported on it. It was unknown to science, but the Aborigines knew it not by just a fossil. They knew what a living one looked like, and I think it's because the Bible is true. These creatures survived the flood. They lived with man for a time. They were going increasingly extinct, but apparently they were still there in Australia in the middle of the 1800s. Now, a medical pathologist examined dinosaur bone under a microscope and found dinosaur red blood cells still intact inside the bone. In other words, forensic evidence that these dinosaurs did not go extinct millions of years ago, but within the life and memory of man, no more than
See,
thousands
that's
of
what I'm
years ago.
talking about.
Here we have an actual
Yeah.
photomicrograph of what appear to be red blood cells inside a blood vessel.
How can that?
These are
How
within an
can
unfossilized
things like
section of
that
bone
last
from a Tyrannosaurus
hundreds
rex.
of millions of years?
All tests today have been consistent with the finding that the red blood pigment hemoglobin is also present. How then can this dinosaur bone be millions of
Yeah.
years old? Not just the hemoglobin, but also osteocalcin protein in the bone. Now, this is virgin bone, not permeated by minerals. So the proteins there have not been replaced by minerals. They're still intact. The problem is we know that protein bonds rupture with time, especially the covalent bonds of DNA, the bonds between the nucleotides, but also the bonds between amino acids in proteins. When they rupture, they liberate a small amount of free energy. Therefore, according to the second law of thermodynamics, they have to rupture the bonds with time. It's just a matter of time. Like water has to run continually downhill, not uphill. And the more time there is, the more downhill it will run. Well, the question is, how long does it take for all these bonds to rupture? In seeking to find the answer, scientists examined mummies, ancient Egyptian mummies that we know historically are about some 4,000 years old. They compared them and their protein structure with mummies less than 1,000 years old to see how much protein bond rupture would take place in a 3,000-year hiatus. They found even in dry mummified conditions, the protein bonds were rupturing at such a rate that it appeared the proteins would completely be dissolved. All the bonds ruptured, no complete intact protein in as little as 50,000 years. DNA with its covalent bonds that are even more delicate, it would only take 10,000 years, 10,000. Yet here we have largely intact hemoglobin and largely intact osteocalcin protein. Now they did 4 different tests trying to confirm that it was not hemoglobin because they didn't like it. All the tests, however, came back positive. The most significant.
Is this what they talk about when they refer to Christian Science? Is this Christian Science?
Yeah.
I see.
Now God has given us and animals amazing.
Starting to see that now. I'm like, wait a second.
They're actually able to analyze.
These are interesting.
Molecule.
It's an interesting.
Interesting talking points, isn't it?
Yeah. Especially when it comes to biblical, proof. Biblical proofs.
Yeah.
And then you bring in dinosaurs because that's always been like a big question. And I think I shared their story on here before when I went to a youth group and I asked about dinosaurs and I couldn't get the answer from the guy. I was like, yeah, I didn't think so.
in forensic science that is largely intact. In fact, it's in about as good a shape as the ones we find in the ancient mummies, which we know to be only about 4,000 years old. Well, the flood, according to the Bible, was between 4,000 and 5,000 years ago. So that's spot on for these things being only several thousand years old. They find these bones of the dinosaurs and they say, that proves the rock is 65 million years old. But the bones have a different story. The blood has a different story. When Cain slew Abel, God tried to confront Cain about the murder. And Cain had this lame excuse, I don't know what happened. After all, I'm not my brother's keeper. But God had the irrefutable comeback. He said, the voice of your brother's blood is crying to me from the ground. And here we have the voice of dinosaur blood crying from their bones, telling us.
The voice of dinosaur blood crying from their bones.
Also, we have found many dinosaur bones.
I loved it. This guy's a great presenter. I'll say that.
He is.
Even the evolutionists admit this. Lots of them. They look like old bison bones. They look that fresh. Yet they're supposed to be at least 65 million years old. Well, they would have been a pile of dust in a few tens of thousands of years.
Have you ever seen this material shared on like mainstream type?
No.
Could have lived no more than a few thousands of years
This
ago.
is so.
Finally,
It
the
seems
ultimate
to me
question, could there
like
be
it
a
would
living
be
dinosaur today?
great
According
TV
to the Bible,
if like
that's
produced
entirely
correctly.
possible.
You know what I mean?
After all, they
But I've
said
never
for
seen
sure.
this
one big
material
attack when they
shared,
hit the earth.
and that has to be a
They
conspiracy.
overspread the earth from the ark after the flood. If some of them migrated to areas sparsely populated by
There's a question for you. Why would they let hundreds of shows go about UFOs and ancient aliens and all this shit, but they won't play something that like really lays this out? That's interesting.
Yeah.
I wonder if this is all able to be blown apart very easily by an expert.
Well, I mean, the thing, if it is, any argument can be picked apart by somebody taught how to pick it apart.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Think about all these scientists nowadays that are like, you need to trust the science.
Yeah,
But the science contradicts everything that we've known for hundreds of years that they're telling us to trust. You know what I mean? So you can't. So it's like, do you trust the science that is the science now, or do you trust the science that was the science a few hundred years ago?
That's why I don't like it when scientists bash religion, because I'm like, science is kind of a religion. You know, you have to have faith in a lot of shit.
Yeah. Like you got these guys that all have faith in like black holes and everything else, but like nobody knows. But they're like, oh, it does this. We did the math.
Yeah.
How can you do the math on something you've never personally experienced or seen, or we've never actually got our hands on? You know what I mean? But yet you can do the math.
It's so interesting.
By their main nemesis, their main antagonist, the dragon slayer, man, why they might still be alive today. And indeed, there are such reports in the Amazon basin of South America, and especially the Likawala swamp of the Congo of Africa.
Yep, here we go.
Dr. Mackel, the author of this book, he was professor of zoology at the University of Chicago and an evolutionist. And yet he was an open-minded evolutionist. He said, you know, we were wrong about the coelacanth fish. We were wrong about the tuatara lizard. We were wrong about the Komodo dragon and so many other things that the natives in the area told us were still alive, and we were too educated. We thought, they've been drinking their bath water. They don't know what they're talking about. We know what evolution says. And he said, time and again, we've been proven wrong because we're so prideful we won't listen to what the natives say. He said the natives here in the Congo have been giving reports for more than 2 centuries of a creature they call Mokili Mbembe, which means he who blocks the flow of rivers. And he said the description they give sounds like a sauropod dinosaur, like an Atlantosaurus or some variety of an Apatosaurus. So he said, we got to at least check it out. After all, it might be true. He raised his own money. He went on an expedition.
I hope this guy's still alive. I'd love to get this guy on the show.
And the picture that he put on the front of his book illustrates a story told to him by the Pygmies there, how back in 1959, they surrounded and speared and killed a small Mokili Mbembe trying to break through their fishing barrier on the shores of Lake Tile. They even ate it. I don't know what it tasted like, Bronto burgers or something like that. But they said that was the main area where they were found. Well, Dr. Mackel penetrated further into that unexplored swamp than any scientist had ever gone before. He walked into a remote picnic village, and when he did, the whole village went in an uproar. Everybody began to jump up and down and scream and shout and holler and point and gesture at him and rush on him in one accord. And so he turned to his interpreter and says, do you understand their dialect? Please tell them I'm a foreigner. I don't know their traditions. If I've done something to violate a taboo, tell them I'm very sorry and I don't want to upset anybody. And by the way, do you even understand what they're saying? And the interpreter said, well, yes, Dr. Mackel, we know what they're saying. Basically, they're saying this. Come and look and see. You can't believe it, but it's true. The legend of the big, tall white man. They really do exist. One's walked into our village. You got to look at him. These people had never seen a white man in their life. Now, they'd heard stories, but it was, to them like, Paul Bunyan and Jack and the Beanstalk. Nobody takes those stories.
You should call that number and see
Ain't
if
no
it's still
such thing
active.
as big, tall white man. But then Dr. Mackle walked in their village and go, oh, my goodness, the legend is true. Dr. Mackle was very happy. He wanted people untouched by modern scientific knowledge. These people didn't have satellite television. They didn't have a subscription to National Geographic. They'd never seen a white man, and they ought not to know what a dinosaur looks like. So he called forward only eyewitnesses. He gave them a piece of paper. If you know your party's extension, you can dial it at any time.
Darn.
They would draw a very credible picture of a
I was trying,
dinosaur.
folks. It'd be funny if this guy answered. Oh my God.
Hello.
Learned from them that Lake Teely was one of the major haunts of this creature. He tried to make it up there, but he ran out of time and money. And so he had to return. However, 2 other expeditions did make it in the early 1980s, the Herman Register's expedition and the Congo government-sponsored expedition, both of which were entirely staffed by evolutionists, zoologists, and biologists. They all came back swearing they had seen this living dinosaur, a small sauropod dinosaur, in the vicinity of Lake Teely. Unfortunately, their camera equipment was ruined and the film ruined when they had an accident that fell in the lake. However, they did bring back a tape recording of the deep-throated roaring sound this creature would make. It was compared with the voice print of any roaring creature on scientific record and was distinctly, uniquely different, absolutely not close to anything. Documenting in a concrete way, there's some big critter there that science has not documented yet. And the evolutionists' own eyewitnesses said it was a sauropod dinosaur. The Discovery Channel is now wanting to go there as a part of a new series on documenting, proving or disproving the existence of strange, exotic, legendary creatures. They want to fly into Lake Teely instead of walking through that terrible swamp with amphibious aircraft, stay there for weeks if necessary, use state-of-the-art infrared night vision equipment, etc., and prove whether or not it's real. The problem is we have a terrible civil war going on there again, and we need to pray that God will change the political situation and allow some of these major end-time revelations to be brought forth. Now, if you want a Christian witness to this, 42-year veteran missionary, Eugene Thomas, he's now retired, but that's his address and phone number if you want to contact him. He said he had 2 pygmies in his mission in Congo, Africa, that claimed to have killed a Mokele Mbembe in 1959. Here we have the Likawala Swamp. It's huge, twice the size of Scotland. It is 55,000 square miles, 80% still unexplored.
Holy crap.
In 21st century,
80%.
who knows what all could be in there. What's really amazing is flying reptiles are supposed to have been extinct for 65 million years, but they're mentioned by Aristotle, Strabo, and Herodotus. Aristotle said it was common knowledge that they were alive in Ethiopia in his day. Anybody who didn't believe that, he said, was simply uneducated. Strabo gave an eyewitness account of them being in ancient India in his day, and Herodotus gave a lengthy eyewitness account of them being in ancient Egypt, where he said they were hated and despised and killed whenever they were found. He said their bleached bones were found strewn across the Egyptian desert sand because everybody hated them. Well, no wonder they aren't there anymore, but they do appear to be alive and well in Papua New Guinea. Many people, hundreds of witnesses, including government officials, foreign missionaries, people whose credibility is beyond dispute, have seen these creatures.
They call them the rope.
Government has issued challenges for foreign scientists, experts in capturing dangerous live animals to come to New Guinea.
Very
They
interesting.
promised to give them at least 6 permits, allowing them to capture 6 living pterodactyls if they can. They have to turn 2 of them over to the government, but they're allowed to keep 4 and export them even to foreign countries. Imagine that, we could have pterodactyls in the San Diego Zoo. Wouldn't that be amazing? Well, so far, most scientists haven't taken it seriously, but the government is very, very serious about it. They feel they don't care if this gives a black eye to Darwin's theory. They figure, by golly, this is our national treasure. This is going to put us on the map. This is going to give us fame and fortune and tourism. And so they want it to be done. We do have some creationist expeditioners gearing up at this time, raising money. I know personally one creationist who's gone there already privately and has seen one. He said that they dive faster than a falcon, over 200 miles an hour. He said you could not believe the speed that these things have. They have finally located, they believe, a cave where they're living. And that's better than we've ever had before. So we need to pray that we'll be able to mount another expedition, that the creationists will be blessed by God to get this documentation. Now, don't go out and say there's dinosaurs in the Congo and pterodactyls in New Guinea. It has not been proven beyond equivocation. But we could be about this close, and it's something we need to pray because, evolution is the most successful lie the devil has ever spawned, and he does not like this type of evidence coming out. There really is a spiritual battle here. So I encourage you to pray, and let's believe God for some amazing
Is proving this a spiritual battle.
that
Yeah.
The Bible is true, not only trustworthy historically about animals, dinosaurs, pterodactyls, but the Bible can be trusted about the history of man, that man is not a worthless product of chance, that he is made in the image of God, that we are so valuable even in our fallen sinful state, that the Creator would pay the infinite price of the blood of his Son, that we could have eternal life. That's what's really important about the truth of the Bible. Well, I thank you very much for your attention. You've been wonderful. We've run out of time, and I hope we'll see you back at the book table to take advantage of some of the materials. Thank you.
I mean, buy my shit.
Buy my stuff.
All right. Well, that was actually that was kind of fun.
I enjoyed that completely.
I'm sold, dude.
Yeah.
Sold.
Yeah.
As crazy as that sounds, like dinosaurs and humans, I think they coexisted. Gosh,
For
now
sure.
I want to see a awesome movie about it.
Man, that would be a cool movie, like Native Americans riding into battle, like with a raptor or something.
Triceratops all armored up, just, and then some dude on a pipe on one, just like, yeah, man, riding a dinosaur, bro.
Just sitting there with this peyote, just chilling.
Oh, that's funny. That guy he had a giant pipe and he was riding a Triceratops. Oh, I might have to get that tattooed.
He knew what he was about.
I'll get it super detailed. Super detailed Incan warrior on a Triceratops.
With a big old pipe.
Smoking a big old pipe. That'd be ridiculous. Awesome. I don't know. I'm starting to look into more odd topics. Just to see. And then we've talked about some things. So it's fun to just kind of bring them to light and just see what's out there. And I'm open to anything. I can't believe we just watched a Christian Science show for about an hour. And I was compelled. And the guy entertained me. So I don't know how you all feel about it, but I enjoyed it.
He brought forth some good topics, some good points.
Yeah, he was a good presenter. He had some good information. I wanted to speed through the beginning part because I was like, where's the stuff where it shows the artifacts? Because the artifacts really get me every time.
Yeah.
But I'm starting to notice a trend because he brought up some things that I've already seen on other videos that weren't even creation science. So it's interesting to see that bleed over. But the videos I was watching were like newer. Like that was clearly from like the 90s. So this shit has been around for a while. This ain't nothing new. People have been talking about this forever. Especially Christian scientists. I didn't really think about it until now, but there's one Dr. Kent Hovind, and he was talking about the dinosaur thing now. So I guess I have heard of this stuff before, but I didn't really realize that there was a whole like Christian Science like whole thing.
Right.
And it's actually kind of compelling. I've always wanted to do a show on looking for evidence of the proof of Jesus Christ, like if he really lived, and what some of the hidden stories are and things like that. We might do that someday. But that was fun. And damn it, dinosaurs and humans roamed the earth together.
They sure did. I'm telling you right now, man, it's ancient Egyptians had them dudes trained.
Could you imagine if that's what the secret was this whole time, is they just had dinosaurs building that shit?
Right.
Damn, that would be sweet. But thanks for joining us, everybody. We did not have last week's show because it was Mother's Day. And now we're off schedule, but that's okay. We'll be off next week, but we'll be back the week after that, all right?
Well, it kind of worked out since I'm traveling from Tuesday until next Wednesday or Thursday.
Oh, perfect. Perfect. Works.
Yeah.
All right, then. Well, safe travels, Matt. Remember, folks, anything's possible.
It's 1,000% maybe that we've been lied to about dinosaurs being real and roaming with us.
God. There's something about, I've been looking into portals a lot too.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's some interesting stuff out there. I don't know. We've talked about it before, but like the Stargate stuff, I got sucked into one of those videos, and then I realized halfway through, I was like, "This is a bunch of horse shit." I was like, "This is," because now with AI, people can have these AI images. So now when you're watching videos, you can't really. I know a lot of YouTube
Dude.
channels are using AI to like.
Oh man, yeah.
create videos.
AI is everywhere. You gotta watch the hands. If they didn't take a lot of time to like really describe it out, the hands are always messed up.
Yeah, it's true. You're right. You're right. You're right. There's always like one weird, like limb or extremity.
Yep.
All right, folks. Oh yes, and definitely don't stick your Triceratops horn in a portal. We will see you in a week or two here
Yep. We'll be back.
on the best worst paranormal podcast. in history.
Man, they can say we're the worst, but I feel like we just have a good time.
You're right. We do have a good time, and we'll see you next time right here on Talking.
Have a good night, everybody.